I guess what sort of influences kind of do you want to, or what sort of influence have you had on your comedy that you want to bring into these different projects?
Well, the funniest thing for me is like I started out as a fan of Aqua Teen, so I would watch. I was back in Texas when I started out. I was working in an animation studio called DNA Productions back there. We were working on Jimmy Neutron, and I would record on VHS tape. If any of the older folks out there know what that is,
Oh
record on
man.
a VHS tape that the Sunday night show. I would bring it in, and me and my buddy would watch it at lunch about 3 to 4 times in a row as we ate lunch. We would quote it for weeks afterwards. We'd make answering machine messages from Aqua Teen. It was amazing. I loved it, and I continued to watch it for the next 5 or 6, 7 years. And to end up actually working on the show is like nuts for me. So Aqua Teen was a huge influence on me because it sort of, I'd always had an absurdist sort of comedy style. It sounds, I'm not ashamed of this. I think Weird Al is a big influence on me. He was
Oh
my hero
yeah.
growing up. So I have a very silly comedic style. I like being silly more than anything else. And then I saw or Conan O'Brien was a huge influence on me because I realized early on that his show was basically, I had a cable access show. If anyone knows, again, I'm very old. I don't know if I got that across yet. But in high school, I had a cable access comedy show with a buddy of mine. We did a sketch show. It was very, very horrible, but it was, a lot of fun. And I realized early on that Conan O'Brien was basically a cable access show. Like the bits they did were so low rent, and the comedy was hysterical, but it was like I could have written it. I'm like, I wrote that's in my head what you just did. I want to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a big like sort of like light bulb. Like I can do this. I can do this career. So those are sort of my influences. And coming into it, this was the perfect place for it, obviously, because it's absurdist, it's silly, it's utilize what you've got. You may have $5. You have $5 to do this. Go do it. When you're like, okay, I'll see what I can do with this $5. So I sort of was tailor made to work at Adult Swim throughout my whole career because I just had the mentality of it. But I will say though, being in the building, I have a more straightforward storyteller brain, and that isn't 100% Adult Swim's, whatever you want to call their style or whatever
Yeah.
their sauce. So I work real hard on my edits to make things make sense or have continuity, like in Your Pretty Face especially. And like I said, Dave always comes in and kicks all the doors down and says, I don't care about continuity. I don't care if his right hand is up in this scene and it's up in that scene or the next shot. I want to be funny. And that was a great lesson. That taught me a lot right there. And it pushed me to look for the funnier way to do things rather than the correct way to do things.
Right.
So that pushed my want to do things correctly to the side. And that has helped grow my comedy too. So just being in there and working with different people's sensibilities really does push your own brain in different directions, and new things will come out of it, which is great. So I guess that's the answer to that question. I talk so much and I get to something, I go, I have no idea what you even ask at this point.
All right, just going off on a rant. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You're just kind of going back to like that flavor that you were trying to pinpoint. Because I believe that all comedy is rooted in philosophy at one way or another, and I don't know. I believe that that Adult Swim has a lot of influence, and probably not even realizing it, from the Algerian philosopher Albert Camus. He was actually the one who came up with, the absurdist philosophy, right? That life is meaningless and due to the struggle between idealism and realism. But when you realize the indifference of the universe, right, it just makes everything silly. Like the myth of Sisyphus, right? He's rolling the boulder up the hill just for it to roll down again for all eternity.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't know, I feel like Adult Swim's abstract nature with different characters. Sometimes episodes have no clear cut correlation between episodes or endings. They don't make any sense.
yeah, yeah.
It like reframes this absurdism as reality, not having a clearly defined end goal. But the thing that's interesting about that is that Camus believed that the only way to overcome is to become this type of absurd hero. So you reveal the absurdity and you use that to create art that is a representation of reality, the true reality that is absurd.
Yeah, yeah, that's very like I feel like Sacha Baron Cohen does that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
obviously, oh, what's his name? I'm forgetting now. Actually, he's one of my heroes, and Andy Kaufman,
Oh, yeah.
obviously putting a mirror up to things. Yeah, my philosophy has always been everything's pointless. Let's have some fun. So it's yeah, it is that like I mean I think Adult Swim more than any network just ask the questions why all the time. Like
Yeah.
why not do this? Why do it that way? Why are you stuck in your mind about things having to be this way? Let's try it a different way. Yeah, it's fun to be a part of that world because you never do. I mean, they'll show us pilots of shows before they have been aired or whatever, and 9 times out of 10 I won't like them because I have my own sort of sensibilities or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but and also I'm trying to get a show, so I get real jealous and angry when other people get pilots. It makes me very mad. That's just because that's sour grapes. Whatever. That's my cross to bear. But a lot of the times the ones I don't like that much will get on the air. And the thing about it, Adult Swim is they do grow their shows. They give it time to breathe. They usually every Adult Swim show will get 2 seasons to sort of figure itself out.
Mhm.
And if it doesn't by the end of that, then they'll pull the plug. But I think that's great. You don't get that on any network. You don't get a chance. They'll pull the plug after like 5 episodes of a show on most networks.
Mhm.
So just the audacity of a network to be like, that wasn't great, but let's here's our notes, here's our thoughts. Go back, do another season, and we'll see if we can either fix it or if it's not working out, we're gonna cut it. And I think that's great of them to do. So hold on, wow, I just got a thing I think that said our meeting got upgraded. So I can feel that. I feel better inside. I don't know what that means, but congrats to
I
all of
have
us.
no idea what that means either, but I'm
I hit
glad we're on the next
okay.
level.
I clicked okay. So we're upgraded. Everyone's loving what we're doing. That's amazing.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, just kind of going back to what you were saying about like, allowing shows to develop. I mean, and I'd love to hear, what shows you feel, like really came into their own after given a little time. But, the example that I think was Assy McGee, because Assy McGee started out like the first few episodes, they weren't like it really didn't find its niche yet, and it really didn't find its voice until a few episodes after that, towards the end of that first season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I love Perfect Hair Forever. Uh, I thought that show was great. By the same person, I think, Matt Harrigan. I'm trying to think if a show. I'm trying to think of a show that sort of exploded. Like was a little shaky at first, but then found its sea legs. I'm blanking. I'm so bad at remembering the shows on our network.
There's so
Um,
many of them. There is
there's a
so
lot
many
of
of them.
them for sure. Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, there was. There was a pilot we did that I loved. That it was by Todd. Now I can't remember his last name. He won't hear this, so it's okay. Uh, it was this wrestling. Did they ever show that pilot of the wrestlers that lived in the house together?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I they showed us that with Laser Wolf. Those were the two pilots they showed us. Laser Wolf I could have taken or left. I'm like I'm not the demo for any of our shows. So it's tough for me to hop on board and be like, yeah, that's something I would watch. I can't figure out what a teenager or early 20s guy's going to watch. That's not my brain anymore. But that's the funniest thing about our network is all the shows are made by 40-something-year-old dudes, for younger people,
Hmm.
and yet I don't think they would watch any of the shows on our network, which is funny to me. But I love that wrestling one, and it tested very poorly. But I just thought it was so different and strange and had such a great flavor to just a weirdness to it that I hadn't seen on our network. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, this is a home run. This will be great. It was like Three Stooges. It was like very slapsticky, live action, and it was just had a great visual style to it, and I really loved it. But they were like, yeah, this one tested the worst out of the series of pilots that we did. But Laser Wolf tested well, so they went with that. But they gave Todd a chance to do. He did like 3 or 4 other versions of it, and I don't think it ever landed, which is a shame. But
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it goes. But that's just an instance where, like I said, I don't have the sensibility necessarily of Adult Swim. I know how to do it and how to sort of be in it and how to what levers to pull, but I couldn't be a studio head. I couldn't be like, yeah, that's the show that's gonna be a big hit, or that's the show that we should invest millions of dollars in. Because I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think with Adult Swim though, I don't think they used to do that. They're doing it now more so because there's more eyes on us than there were in the past. But they do like test the shows, like take them out and show them to people and get them to. But I don't think they ever did that before. I don't know if that is necessarily hurting or helping things. I think you get more weird, surprising stuff by not doing that.
Hmm.
Uh, but I'm not a head of a network, so it's not up to me. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. It's just the shows on our network are strange. Like I love my favorites are old school, like Venture Brothers.
Venture Brothers is my favorite show
Yeah,
on Adult Swim, just
it's a
because I
great
feel
show.
like that show is just kind of like catered specifically to me. Someone growing up like
See,
in
they
the
did it.
'80s, early '90s. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I knew all the different references. I watched the old
Mhm.
Johnny Quest episodes, so
Oh
like all
yeah,
those little like references and stuff. Like it's something that. It's something that I can relate with, but also, because I mean, it was created by folks in your generation.
yeah,
It was a love letter to the stuff that they grew up with as a
yeah,
kid. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I
But then
feel like
they
that
they
kind of sincerity rings through on that show.
yeah, and on top of just that show could be discarded as just a parody of like it's just a parody of other shows, but there's so much more to it. They built such a rich character. Their characters are so
Yeah.
rich, and they've built. That's what Adult Swim doesn't do a lot is a serialized show, and that show wasn't doing that at the beginning, but they started to really build up a universe and bring back characters and have consequences to their actions, and that was new to the network, I think, at the time, just having a show that was almost soap opera-esque in the way it developed characters and
Oh
developed
yeah.
the universe. And it really was it's a dense show. I would watch the newer episodes. I think are much thicker than the old ones, and I would have to watch an episode a couple times to get everything and to be like, oh, okay, because I try to force too much in now, which is great, but it's hard. It's tough to do because I know that the scripts for Your Pretty Face, which is an 11-minute show, you want the script to be around 15 or 16, 17 pages for those. And the first draft, the final drafts that they hand in and shoot usually, we're running about 25 pages. So we would end up cutting about 5 or 6 minutes of show for every episode. So you would do this really big 18, 19-minute cut first through, and then it's like, okay, we got to figure out a way to cut 6 minutes of this and still have it make sense.
Yeah.
Um, but that show is great at throwing a lot of stuff at the screen and have it make sense, but have it be like, I got to look at that again because I didn't catch all that the first time, which is a great a great tenet for your show to have because it's a lot of rewatchable value. Um, and Rick and Morty is the same way. I think there's so much stuff going on in the background of every episode that you'll see Easter eggs and stuff, which is wonderful. But a lot of there's not a lot of adult swim shows that I think have the time and energy to do that. And I think it falls back on the show creator having that energy and wanting their show to be the best that it can be. Not that every show creator doesn't want their show to be good. That's silly. But yeah, it's just we have, you know, to use a pedantic term, we have a lot of nerds that make shows here, which is great. You want the nerds making the shows because they're going to have an eye for the detail and they're going to know about all the cool stuff going on and they'll put it in the show. And I think goes back on us finding cool people to give a voice to. And,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So that's where that comes from, because, you know, NBC and CBS aren't going to find a weirdo and give them a show and say, okay, we're going to try this out and see how this works. Because it won't work on that. That's not what their audience is.